Hey everyone, welcome back to the Heroes World Quarantine edition of the podcast. Blah, 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 blah. I hope you are all doing well. I am your host, Stu Pei, and here as always is the owners and proprietors of the Heroes World store in Markham, Ontario, Andre and John. Say hello to the world.
Hey guys.
And of course, the Prince of Mischief himself, Rob Gaudet.
Blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. Thank you all for joining us today. We are continuing on our topic, which is The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 7, titled The Believer.
The Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. You got fast, quick Ricky. So
Or speed.
Andre, a segment will continue. Andre, can you do your segment of telling us what the show was about without adding any type of descriptive, positive or negative? You know the drill. Go.
All right. So in this episode, we have the Mandalorian teaming up with none other than Boba the Fett and the marksman. Don't remember her name. And they are finally going to track down Moff Gideon. In order to do this, though, they have to break out or get a former Imperial officer so that they can track it down.
Yep. Imperial sharpshooter.
So they get their quarry and then they have to break into an Imperial installation while driving a Imperial juggernaut full with a highly combustible material that the native population wants to blow up. They enter the base, steal the data, and before they can escape, something treacherous happens, and the Imperials are all after them. Cue Slave One to the rescue, and our heroes get away with the information they need, and Moff Gideon gets an earful from the Mandalorian in the form of a very cool threat.
Awesome. Thank you, Andre. That was very good. That was good. Look, that almost seemed like you were somewhat feeling the jive of the show. Okay, here we go. Spoiler filled, everything filled. Here we go. Here are our thoughts. Don't hold back. If you're watching this just for whatever, you should know we're going into full spoilers. All right. I'm going to let Andre go last. John, tell us your thoughts on this episode, The Believer.
The Believer, aka the Fast and the Furious. It was literally what I feel like a Fast and the Furious movie is now, which is explosions, car chases, action, putting together a team, that type of thing. So I enjoyed it. I'm not expecting much from the show. So it fills my, I don't know how long this episode was, 40 minutes, 30
36.
minutes. Yeah, 36 minutes. It filled my little gap between French class and recess, so it was all right.
So and hopefully your teacher understands why you're late,
remember, John. You should put French captioning on, and then you'll get even better experience.
Yeah. Then you get double the lesson.
Yeah.
So like I really love seeing Ming-na and Gina Carano on the screen together. I like how they didn't do let's use our feminine wilds type scene to get, let's get into the base and let's, like be sexy or something like that. I like how they were like kind of the badass backup, holding down the fort, both rocking the rifles, taking out bad guys left, right, and center. Trying to think of like anything. Like I love, man, when I watch these shows, I just look at them and I go, I got to get all these toys now. Like, so that I don't know if that juggernaut thing exists, that truck. I don't know if those explosive devices exist, those things. I looked up the drivers of that thing. It's some type of tank trooper or something that is only being made once in action figure form. So I'm kind of like, crap. And I'm looking at all my figures. I'm like, oh, now I got to weather these guys and make them look all beat up. And I was surprised by the Bill Burr character. I forgot Mayfax or Mayfield or whatever.
Mayfield.
Because I would say one of my least favorite episodes was that prison barge episode. Because I didn't get it. He had the gun on his shoulder, and I thank God they didn't bring that stupid device back. And go, oh, we got your gear. Here's this gun on your shoulder that's gonna save the day. I'm like, you might as well have a monkey on your shoulder with a pistol. You know what I mean? Like
that would be cool.
I'm like, that would be cool if he had a
pistol.
Yeah, if he had a creature like that was on him and shooting. But I didn't.
John, they made a video game with that with a Jedi that had a robot on his back. So let's not forget that one. That it happened already. All in Order. The Jedi had a robot that moved around for no reason. He was just there. Why? He looks cute.
Yeah, the character, and Bill Burr, I do follow him on like his podcast and stuff like that. He's got a certain type of personality, so I'm like, oh, he's just gonna do his thing that he normally does and cut these jokes. But I actually thought he like really came through. He gave like a really good performance. It wasn't like over the top, and maybe he got to inject a little bit into his dialogue. So I do notice what Andre's talking about. The dialogue is overall weak in the show. So I thought his little speech and talking with the Mandalorian and stuff like that, I thought it was definitely a step up from what we kind of normally get. So I was really happy with that. And yeah, I love that ending. I almost was going to tear up when Mandalorian comes up on the holographic projector and he's like, "You've taken something from me, you don't know how much it means to me, and I'm going to come and I'm going to get it back, and you're going to pay," type thing. Like this huge, like I'm now the father figure for this character or whatever. And I like that he just kind of stepped into it. So it's cool that the character, I feel like, has changed. I don't know. I don't go that deep into the
100%. This episode was about him changing because
like the whole going to the terminal thing, and he's like, "Give me the thing. I'm doing it." It's not like, "Oh, I never do this helmet removal thing. I'm gonna," when characters have like a certain code, and you're just like, break the code, you're gonna fucking die. Like something's gonna happen. You gotta do it. So I thought it was really cool that he did it. And we get to see this actor's face. I'm not familiar with him other than this role, so
didn't watch Game of Thrones. Didn't
no,
watch him
exactly. No,
Narcos.
Should I go catch up on Game of Thrones and get really hyped up for the ending?
84 trailers.
Rob, when is that movie coming out again? Who knows? Maybe
December 25th.
Never o'clock.
December.
But yeah, I'm going too long, but I really enjoyed the episode. It fits what I want it to do. Yeah, there's definitely issues with it, but it was fine for me.
Yes, that's a lot from you. It's great. Rob, go for it.
Admittedly, so as I've said, week in and week out, I watch this with my son, who will be 12 in a few weeks, and he enjoyed. I like to look at it from my own perspective and from his. He enjoyed it. We both kind of agreed, though it seemed to have lost the momentum of the previous 2 weeks. And I was messaging with Stu about this, I think Friday night, and in speaking with Stu, and the more I thought about the episode, even yesterday, I actually enjoyed the episode more than I think I initially did, but I figured out what the problem was for me is that I've always talked about how this is like, we were afraid that we're going to get another filler episode. And last week's episode was not that filler episode. So I'm like, you have one episode, like this was so I still stand by my assertion that you have, the penultimate episode. This should not have been the penultimate episode. Because I think you needed that momentum from those past two, where I think what they should have done is a course correction. And I know, John, this is going to upset you. That Carl Weathers episode with Cara Dune was atrocious. I think if you had taken some of that storyline and this one and merged them together, that would have been probably a very solid
full out action.
So yeah, because I think that, and I was actually started thinking about it. I was like, we, in that end of that episode, when they're at the secret base and you see kind of the shots of the dark troopers, whatever they were called. And then you saw them 2 weeks later flying to get Grogu last week. How awesome would that have been, though, if you just saw them flying down? You don't know what they are. And then they add them into near the end of this episode where Moff Gideon gets that message. And then you see and then you see that he's got a whole army of them, right? So I think when I was saying that this kind of felt like a bit of a filler episode, I think it's because it probably didn't, it should have been melded with the other one. That's my own I just think that other one, that Carl Weathers one, was atrocious. They didn't need that, and they could have taken it and put it into this one. So all that being said, on its own, on its merits, is a lot of fun. John's right. It is like a Fast and Furious where physics don't seem to matter, especially when you're jumping from one cruiser onto the battle tank.
That's Star Wars.
Things cool down instantly. Once you hit the brakes, all those meters go down.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what? It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Bill Burr coming on. I know that this series as a whole does a lot of fan service of bringing on actors. We've talked about this in every episode, but Bill Burr and not only is he a comedian, he's an accomplished actor. I mean, this guy's got a huge, CV of previous acting chops, right? So I'm all good for him. He was a lot of fun. He brought a lot of levity. This was Gina Carano's probably best episode, to be very honest with you. I thought she was great. I liked Boba Fett with the all new paint. He stopped off in the GTA.
Brand new paint. Can't fix that
pulled
dent in
in.
his
He
helmet.
pulled into the garage. The garage door came down. I opened up, and he was all repainted. So
Grand Theft Auto.
yeah.
John,
so I was all good. I was all good with this.
Before you can't just dent out Beskar. It's not like something you can
I know, he
hammer
still
out.
had that
Like, it's
small
just-
little-
What's
a
that?
lot
What's
of
that
work.
dent from? Like what causes a dent in Beskar? Or
We'll
I
ask
guess
Andre
now.
after the fact because again, this is Star Wars legacy. Who knows? It's
Yeah. So
it could be now. It could be he slipped in the bathroom. You don't know what the real answer is.
he fell on the back of the
has
toilet while hanging a clock, and he came up with
He has
flux
Beskar
capacitors.
faucets and stuff that he hit his head on. That's the only thing. Like Beskar beats Beskar.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Beskar beats Beskar.
I did like the action scenes, and I like seeing the Mandalorian actually having to
Fight?
use his skills as a fighter as opposed to relying on his armor. And you saw that when he was on top
Yeah,
of the
Yeah, he
of the
blocks
tank.
and he gets punished for it.
Yeah, and it hurt, right? So I like the fact that he had to adjust and use his skills. So overall, I'm happy with the episode. It's crazy to me that was the second last one, but that's where we are. So here we are. We're going into the finale.
I'm gonna let Andre go before I go because I got a lot of thoughts. Andre, go for it. It's up to you.
Yeah, I like what the other guys said. It's on its merits, it was what it was. I really have nothing more to say than I haven't previously said. I think the show is just it's proving that it's sticking in its wheelhouse. I think this was a
the
filler
popcorn
episode.
short type thing, right?
I think that's it. All my other problems with it, I still have, right? Like is it fun and a good looking show? Sure. That's about it.
Yeah. That's all you want to mention?
There's nothing else to mention. Like it is what it is, right? Like there's I can pick it apart, but I've done that every episode, and it doesn't, it doesn't matter. Like they clearly, in my opinion, they're clearly not trying, and that's it. I will mention one thing. The whole point of this episode was to get Bill Burr's character Mayfield so that he gets into this computer, and then he doesn't get into the computer. And the whole thing was you got to scan the face. Well, Din Djarin's, he's not Imperial, so how would he get in? So, honestly, when they don't care about stuff like that, I have an impossible time caring too. You know what I mean? It's just that's just it. Like, was the action great? Sure, it was. Does it look great? Yes, it does. Boba Fett, new paint job, Slave One, badass, cool. If that's all you're going to ever give me, I know that now. Zero expectations for it.
It feels like a toy commercial. Like for me, I'm like, oh, like you look at all these cool toys that they're playing with. But yeah, the whole like, oh, you got to go in and use the terminal. Oh, give me the thing. I'll use the terminal. It's like, okay, so you didn't need to come in here unless I guess there's two people that has to come in there. Oh no, they said like it has to scan if you and it just scans if you're a criminal or not.
Yeah.
So Gina Carano and Fennec could not, and Boba could not use it. So I guess that's the gimmick.
The ISB, the Imperial Secret Bureau, whatever that a bunch of people are part of, has a database of people. So when Gina Carano's like, well, they would know she's part of the part of the New Republic, and Shinnick will probably, with now that you saw the new batch, she's part of that show, so you know that she has a checkered past. And when Boba Fett goes, oh, they'll know my face because he's, like that was a moment where they're like, okay, well, he has to go because everyone knows.
But what do the other officers use that terminal for? Is it for banking? Is it for updating their Facebook status? Like it's a funny little gimmick they created.
It's the same thing in the other
create
movie
the Fast and
where-
Furious height.
It's the same thing you have with the move, John, with the other Star Wars thing is why does it have to be on a droid? Can't they just upload to the space? Like, why does it have to be? Why does a disc need to be given to R2D2 to be given to the new thing? It's like it's a Star Wars thing that they just made up, and they're like, well, we're gonna go for it because there's no reason why that information at Death Star couldn't be just sent out digitally. Why does it need to be on like a droid? And that information, can you imagine back then? The data was so like, oh my God, it's like a gig. It'd be so impossible. Now you can just send that via like Bluetooth in like 3 seconds. Like what was the picture? It was like what 50 megabytes? It was like a 3D grid of the Death Star with like a one pipeline. It's like, oh, you couldn't send that like on a flash drive? Like, oh no, it has to be on a droid, has to be on this. So like if we're gonna pick apart something like Star Wars, you have to have a level of disbelief. Like you talked about the physics. Like again, Jedi's break physics all the time. Fast and Furious, like this is an action movie. Like
No,
that was
but I 100% see Andre's point, like from last week. Like yeah,
Yeah.
why isn't it like up at this level? Why isn't it like future proof is what I'm saying. Andre wants it to be future proof. He wants
I don't think
people to be able to go back
nothing
and watch
is future
it.
proof because
Yeah,
again,
but
we don't know.
He's absolutely
Well,
right
remember,
that they
this
should
is
be
a
kind of
John.
getting
This is
to
a
that
galaxy
level.
far, far away. So
Yeah.
like, and a long time ago. So future proof isn't a thing. Like we can try to do
Yeah.
the future, but every time humans do the future, we're off. We're wrong.
But it's not, Stu.
Yeah.
It's not future
No,
proof.
no, just even that you can go back and watch it and enjoy it and not go, why'd he put his backpack down? That's so annoying. Go
Yeah,
pick
but
up your
you're-
backpack, you idiot.
Yeah, but the technology is based within the rules that they've already built.
No, but
So
that's not it, guys. Like again, you set up this whole premise. Like, what did Mayfield do by the end of this episode since he couldn't walk past his boss?
Yeah.
Right? Like
So,
if the show said,
he,
hey,
he kind of became the Tyrese and the fast
no,
talker
he did.
or
No,
whatever.
but I'm saying, I'm saying once the Mandalorian had to walk to the terminal, he didn't say, okay, here's my code. Like, you type in my stormtrooper code, or he just, you know what I mean? Like by the end of it, there was no reason he needed to be there. So that's what I'm saying. Like like you know.
There's some assumptions. Let me just finish. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
you go ahead, Stu. Yeah.
Yeah, like okay, so let me just bring out some highlights that I really appreciated. One, I really enjoyed Migs Mayfield. I thought, and I told Rob and John outside of this, that I cared more about him than I ever did about Finn. He was an Imperial that I hated because from John's episode to that episode, he was just like, it showed that he was a dick and a douchebag, and this was what Mando used to be. And you could see the redemption arc of him by the end of this episode. And that's what Star Wars or life is about. It's like, we love the comeback story. We love the, Anakin killed and was a bad guy for 25 years. And then he did one good thing. And we just said, we're good with you, Anakin. It's all right. You murdered children, you did whatever, but at the end you did the right thing. You're good in our books. So I'm fine with people having redemption stories. So Migs, the level of which Rob was talking about, the acting, like that moment where you could see the rage and the passion and like that when they're sitting at the desk and you just like, oh, like, and even the little combinations of like bending the rules. He was talking about Mandalorians. Like, what does it matter? Like, it's look at the people around you. Whoever rules, like they're the ones that like are getting screwed. So he's kind of adding this dialogue of like, and maybe it's not the best written dialogue, but his perspective on the universe and like we're survivors and this is what the galaxy is about, whether it's Imperial or about the alliance, that people on the outskirts get screwed and we're just basically colonialism at its best. We just show up, take our stuff, and then people get screwed over. So I appreciated him kind of adding his insights. And again, by the end of the episode, like again, he was a sharpshooter. But this one they actually show, well, he actually has skills. Like it's not about the gun on the arm, but he could be able to hit a shot far away, so much so that both Karina
I feel like they should have made that shot like, a little bit nice more tricky.
And even the thing about prejudice, right? Because she's like, oh, you're Imperial. Like there's so much about the world about prejudice, like you are what you are. And he made the comments like, well, if you're born on Alderaan, you're this. If you're born on Mandalorian, you're like Mandalore, you're like that. So we are what we are and where we're born. So it's like nice things like that. Another big shout out is Richard Brake, who was Joe Chill in the Batman movie. He was also the Night King in Game of Thrones. Like his Southern, like, Operation Cinder. I remember that. Like he was fantastic. And just to have that type of tension at the table where you had an Imperial like general who is, Andre's point, a boss and talking about, for the Empire, we did this and blah, blah, blah. Usually they're British, but to have that Southern drawl is like a very like, the South as in, it's very much all the people of the reenactors. So it was nice to have like another kind of bad guy.
Did you see it coming? Like all the people in that room dying? Like
it was stupid, but at the same time, I
like someone pointed out, as soon as Mandalorian took off his helmet, he's like, well, everybody in this room's got to die. Yeah. So he's like, he saw it coming.
Well,
I was like, oh yeah, that's true.
I appreciated that Pedro Pascal, and you guys talked about too, how vulnerable he was. Like when he took off his helmet, like he was just like his eyes. I rewatched the episode twice.
Freaked out.
And I watched his scenes 3 times, which is him just like looking around and just like not sure what to do. And for him to be in that position, it's like, oh my God, but he's bending the rules because he believes and he's met people about it. And the whole concept about you're not just what Andre was talking before in the beginning of the show is like, why does he can't take off his helmet? What does it mean to be Mandalorian? And why we always talk about Boba Fett being overrated is like, he just looked cool. And that's what people liked about Boba Fett before, was like, he was looking a cool looking dude. And this episode was all about, what does it mean not to have the armor? Because he didn't have it. It's like taking off the helmet. Like, and Bill Burr says, you bend the rules. Like, what is it? You can't take off the helmet, or you can't put another helmet on. Like, what's it mean to you for you to take off the Mandalorian helmet? And, there's a lot of, I guess, circumstantial things when the armor's like, did you ever take off your helmet? He's like, like, yeah, technically, but did anyone see your face?
I like how he's kind of like sulking in that armor. He was kind of like, shut up.
and Bill Burr saving them and even going to them, it's like, at the end, he's like, yeah, here's the helmet. I didn't see your face. Like, that stuff, like, to Andre's point, it's not the best writing in the world, but for me, it's like the dialogue that I enjoy the most. Like, that's a realistic conversation that they would have. And I reached out to some people of my friends who were part of cadets and part of the army, and to get kind of their perspective on Bill Burr. And they loved him because in the army, there's a guy like Bill Burr who has difficulty dealing with the atrocities and like the military. And like, it's hard to deal with it, but there's always that guy who's a wise ass talking. It's just part of the military. You have someone who's like that because, in every platoon and every group, there's someone like that who's just chatting all the time because their level of how they deal with stress is different. And you also need someone to, break the ice when everyone's being so serious. So it's something that in Star Wars was always nice to see, like someone who, stormtroopers get a bad rap, but this one, it was fun the first time outside of Finn, as in like, we're just orphans. It's like, no. The people that enrolled into the Imperials, like some of them have choices and some of them, feel like, it's not always great. So I appreciate that. And again, I just don't say it's the best episode pacing wise, Rob, you're right. It's kind of weird, but I think it's for a level of what the Mandalorian needs. Everything about this episode is about change and about changing of beliefs, and that you are just something of growth. And for him as a character, there is growth. It's getting there. He's different than what he was in episode 1, where he was a xenophobe to robots. He never took off his helmet, and now his perspective is changing. Would I want to be tighter, to Andre's point? Yes. I want it to be different. Yeah, but it's getting there. And it is better than what I can say about a lot of other TV shows out that I've watched and seen. We're going to get more about Transformers, spoiler alert, of the future. And I think all of us would watch this again rather than watching Transformers War of Cybertron. So compared to what
maybe they'll step up. But is there anything we can really compare it to? Like, I was thinking maybe Firefly. Like the dialogue was really tight. I felt the story was really good. All the character,
but it was only one season, and it was again, there was a bigger world, but it wasn't enough. Like, maybe you look at The Expanse, like if you look at that, but that's a lot of, it already is a lot of books and what they have something to draw from. So they're drawing from scratch. I don't know, maybe like Woo Assassins, like, I don't know, you can draw something else from it. And, but any additional thoughts before we roll out? John?
Well,
Rob?
I just actually had a quick question for Andre. So obviously your theme this season has been not overly impressed. So with the next, are you looking forward to the finale because you're excited to see what happens, or because you don't want to watch the show anymore?
To be honest with you, like this, I was hoping this episode would get me excited.
Yeah.
And I think with all the announcements Disney made, it's like, I honestly, 0 F's given. This show could end with them not saving the child. I don't care. Moff Gideon could have replied, "Oh, the child's already dead because I dissected his blood." And I'd be like, "Oh, okay, maybe that would make me care." But like, they haven't set up anything. Like, again, I don't care for any of the characters in this show except for the characters that I previously knew, and now I know they're not going to make appearances back in this show. So I'll watch it.
Good.
I don't have any expectations of it. I don't see how it can improve. We had 8 episodes this season, right?
There is 8. That was
There's
number 7.
Be 8.
7, yeah.
So this is 7, and I possibly enjoyed 2 of them, and the one I enjoyed was 47 minutes or 46 minutes, which is 10 minutes longer than any other episode except for the first episode. So again, my point from way before is this show needs to be 46 minutes to build on stuff, not to haphazardly cram stuff together and cut it. This show makes a great sizzle reel. I will never watch any of these episodes again in their entirety, but when somebody cuts all the action together, I'll be like, great. This episode, great. 5 minutes of action, amazing. Previous episode, 5 minutes of action. But built as a show to be rewatchable, even in a half an hour. Of these half an hour, 22 minutes is wasted junk, right? So they either make it longer or boil it down for me.
So I watched this show.
2 out of 7 is pretty good, I would say, for Andre.
Yeah, well, I watched this show and I said this to Stu, is that I can't help it now as I'm watching it. Partway through, my brain goes, I wonder what Andre is thinking. And then when I saw that it wasn't written by Jon Favreau, who may or may not be Andre's arch nemesis, I thought
Andre
to
has
myself,
Andre has a lot. You gotta be careful.
I thought, well, maybe Andre will find a little bit of a different different take on it because it wasn't written by Favreau. But for you, it didn't make a difference, right?
Well, again, I noticed that it wasn't Favreau, and Favreau hasn't written, I think, 3 of the episodes or 4 of the episodes this season. The problem is, except for the Filoni episode, the other episodes that are written are almost written like Favreau. It's like it's like saying, oh, we got to write the Marvel way. So even if they had any other things, they're like, the guy's still writing it that same way. Like I said, the not taking care to make sure the plot, lines up. They're like, well, if Favreau's not making it line up, why do I have to make it line up? Right. So I just think it's just how the show is. And I think we'll touch on it in a future episode.
It could be money and time factors. And they're like, yeah, we don't have time to link all these things up. But yeah, it would be nice. Yeah. If all those things, fell into place.
Well, it just like I said, it just make it make sense, like something simple, like, yeah, we talked about how cool it was that those guys jumped over onto a speeding thing. Make them jump on the side of it. You can't jump from behind, unless you put little rocket packs on their primitive staffs or something like that. You know what I mean? It's just
like little
catapults.
To be fair,
these little things.
We don't know the physiology of these aliens. We don't know if they're capable of stronger
they got
muscles or whatnot. We don't know what they are. So
they got hops.
Like to be fair, maybe that race could do it, and I don't understand. But
again, if to be fair, if we're looking at physics, why didn't they just throw the thermal detonators at the tires?
100%. Yep.
Right. So again, I know they
special
don't want you to
tires.
think of these things
because they can jump if they're
the
dumb.
plot first, right?
They're just dumb. They're just not very smart, Andre.
No, they can jump like a mofo, but they are dumb as shit and never thought about throwing the grenades.
They were tires. Well, they tried to, even when they couldn't throw the grenades.
Why does the hatch need to be open in order to get the grenades?
Exactly. Why did the Imperials not close the hatch when the Juggernaut came in? Why was the Juggernaut left in the parking lot and not brought in the thing so the guy could get the shot? Right.
I think they should have made that shot a little harder to show off that it literally looked like a wide open shot.
Yeah.
Well, it was still range involved. It was you
they didn't sell it. They didn't sell it because when Fennec and Kara were looking and they're like, oh, pretty good shot. I'm like, really? It looked like it was a wide open shot to me.
Can we appreciate the one moment of the episode that I went, ooh, was when they were on Slave
really
One, and we've only ever seen the cockpit of Slave One. But when my wife and I were watching it, and we saw them sitting, and also
I like how they cut to Boba Fett and he's lying down. I'm like, you gotta lie down to sit in the ship.
I was super excited just to see the inside of Slave One. I was like, oh, this is how it works.
To see how it turns.
Yeah, in real life, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Again, Andre, you've probably seen it in the old canon, but just to see it in live action, just see the gears and everything turn in the background, and all of a sudden it go. I was like, wow, that's cool. Again, it looks super cool.
Well, it was all how you figured it worked in your head, but then to see it actually, that was cool.
Yeah, I started off going, man, Slave One is a dumb ship. You gotta lie down to fly this, and then it started to flip around, and then that hatch lowered for the and I thought Mayfield wasn't actually gonna make the jump, and I was like, what if he doesn't make the jump, he just falls to his death, and then that's the end of that character. I would have been like, oh man, brutal. But it would have been the comedic death that he probably wanted. But
No, I think they Mayfield's.
No, they need to keep characters around. I think killing off characters is silly. Like killing off that Nick Nolte character season 1 was kind of silly.
But again,
maybe he
I
didn't-
think it's
he
I
didn't want
think
to
it's
come
about
back.
actors and who wants to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
I have a million stories of my friend who was a producer. The stories I could tell you guys off scene about actors. Oh my goodness, and their agents. It's great. It's great. Like some of them are just so. Yeah. Anyways, without me going into like ruining people and my buddies' relationships, but there's some good ones that I was laughing about. But yeah, like little things. I think visually it's still on par. Again, I was glad that they used black cloth to cover up Boba Fett's dad bod, so they did a really good job of adding some concealing cloaks. He's like, we're just put more black on Boba Fett, so cover up the fact that he's having too many space burgers. So it was nice that he looked very nice, and then they covered up and used not.
It
CGI,
made me
but...
think I could finally find a Star Wars costume that I'll look decent in next Halloween. That's what
Bathrobe and like what is that, like 40% of Boba Fett armor.
That's right.
Yeah, it was great. So again, I'm excited to see what happens in the final episode, just to see where it goes. The elephant in the room is and Andre may love this, but we heard that Pedro Pascal was not happy. We heard that he wanted the helmet off more often. We heard that there was some disagreements, and there are rumors out there that he may not survive. So he may die, or something might happen to him. So we'll see. So maybe we get our wish. He gets to die in honor, and then that's it. And
maybe yeah.
But they have a
maybe he
season 3
sacrifices
coming.
himself.
Yeah, but it may be the Boba Fett show going forward.
But Boba Fett is also
Mandalorian's
a Mandalorian.
not the Jin story. It's the Mandalorian, and Boba
Yeah.
Fett is a Mandalorian. So it could be just, hey, whatever the Mandalorian is, it's a Mandalorian, and
Oh my
They-
gosh! So
they
now
double-
you've got me.
They double up, and Grogu puts on the armor. So they
Now
have,
you
have a
got me
little,
going bananas because, and we're not going to get into it in this episode, but there was a certain lack of a certain show announcement at Disney's investor call on Thursday that will be part, I'm sure we'll talk about in our main podcast. So, but now you got me thinking, why wasn't that show announced when we know that they're filming? So, damn you, Stu! Damn you!
but that's the
Spoilers.
thing. Like there was lots of rumblings, and we don't know what's gonna happen. So maybe there's some doubt, as in, hey, maybe that person doesn't survive. So, or maybe it just is just a big play, and he'll be back and with no problems, or he gets captured and he's removed for a year, and Boba Fett does it, or Boba Fett will be the lead for 6 episodes, and then Jin will come back near the end. Like, we don't know what's gonna happen. Again, when Pedro was doing it, that was kind of when he was upset. That was kind of during COVID, and he figured things would go back to normal. But now, surprise, surprise, all the actors a lot of them are unemployed, waiting for stuff to happen. So
He was ahead of the curve, though. He was wearing his mask the entire time.
we'll see. I think Disney money is a lot of money to say no to, and as we discussed before, Warner Brothers kind of made it where Disney's the only game in town. So people are just like, forget it. I'm just gonna go to Disney Plus because they're not gonna butcher my movie. So that's a whole nother problem. So as we wrap up, John and Andre, where can people find more of you guys on the internet and in the real world?
Yeah, so very important now because we are entering the lockdown, so we will be closed for walk-in traffic. So please follow us on our social medias, the Instagram and Facebook, Heroes World Online. We'll be posting up everything we can there, and the website as well. We'll get that updated, heroesworldonline.com. And then if you're following us here on the YouTube, definitely give us a subscribe and a like. And then on our podcast services, look up Heroes World Podcast. Links will be in the bottom of the YouTube here. Subscribe, give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and a review. Really helps us out. And yeah, just hit us up. We'll be doing whatever we can to get stuff to you guys. We thank you guys for your support, and hope everybody stays safe, and we'll be announcing all our curbside and all that kind of details online.
Yep. Andre?
Yeah, well, as John said, as of Monday, so by the time you guys hear this today, we'll be locked down. So yeah, we're gonna have to adjust to curbside. I'll be at the store, but don't know what the hours will be for me being at the store. So I guess, yeah, reach out to us on the socials. You can give us a call, but definitely I think hitting our Facebook up, which is Heroes World Online, or using the Gmail account is definitely going to be easier. And like John said, thanks for all the support, but I am going to put a personal request out there. to anybody and everybody who has ever shopped at the store or continues to shop at the store. Now's the time. We really need your help. So something simple you can do for us, if you haven't already, like John said, rate this podcast, share this podcast, share our Facebook post on Instagram, share a post, tag us in something, and share a happy memory or a happy item that you've got from us. Recommend us. Do a Google
and a lot of you guys do this, so thank
a
you.
lot of you
Thank you
guys
so
already
much
do
for
it.
doing this. It's
share our
amazing.
posts, Google reviews, Facebook reviews. Keep us in the consciousness. Keep us, if you have 10 comic books over the past 20 years that you've bought from us that you really love, say, hey, I went to Heroes World and these guys helped me out, help them out. I'm not joking when I say a $5 purchase at this point helps. We don't know how long this lockdown is going to be, and to be frank and stuff, I am extremely scared because the last one was 2.5 months. Our friends in Scarborough and Toronto and Peel, they've already gone through 28 days, and there's no way they're going to be letting up. So this is going to be a long time. So anything you can do, it doesn't have to be buying something from us, but just talking about us, tagging us in socials. I would love to see our Instagram and our Facebook with Heroes World trending, or just sharing that stuff, because then people will be like, what is this place? And if they contact us, we can maybe, share what John and I have done. We've had this business for 19 years and we've put our heart and soul into it. We love this stuff and we love interacting with you. And now they've cut us off at the knees. We can't interact with you the way we want to, the way we have built our stores, been this brick and mortar experience and stuff. So it would mean the world to us just to see that support coming back. And I know everybody's financials are tight right now and different right now, but again, if you could just share something or talk about us and stuff, that would help us so much.
Thank you for sharing, Andre. Rob?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Rob Gadet. You can, if you're listening to this on Sunday, join John and I tomorrow live on the Heroes World Sidekick Show, 8:00. You can watch it on the aforementioned Facebook, Heroes World Facebook post. It's also on the YouTube channels if you're watching this. We are closing in on the end of the worst comic book movie bracket. This week it is Batman and Robin versus Green Lantern. So we'll be talking about some of the news, but then we're going to be really getting John's table is now back to being wobbly. But we'll be we're in the semis, I think, right now with those two. So
come have some fun with us.
Yeah,
we announce stuff for the
chat.
shop as well. Whatever we got new, I cover it in the beginning of the show. So yeah, definitely tune in. It's a lot of fun to talk with you guys.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely participate. Participate, comment while the show's ongoing, because we love reading your comments, and you're going to actually help John and I determine what moves on, Green Lantern or Batman and Robin.
Green Lantern.
You are 5 ways from being in a mental institution if you think that's true.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin is worse than Green
Andre,
Lantern.
when was the last time you watched Batman and Robin?
Pardon me?
When was the last time you watched Batman and Robin?
It's been years, but I will say this, and I'm gonna join you guys. But here's the thing. For Batman, we had seen consecutive movies getting worse, so I don't know what their expectations were. For Green Lantern, it was a new movie, and it had Ryan Reynolds, and we saw these special effects, and it was this new DC, and we heard Jeff Johns and Jim Lee, and then for them to deliver that, I'll tell you this, I own both Batman and Green Lantern on DVD. Tonight. I would rewatch that Batman movie 7 times in a row before rewatching Green Lantern.
You won't.
Yeah,
join us tomorrow. We'll talk about it.
I'll join you guys.
I think
there's if Green Lantern doesn't go through,
I think that it's an indictment to Jeff Johns, which also it was just a reminder that Jeff Johns may be a little too overhyped. So I think that's a lot of another podcast in the future. I think Jeff Johns out of comic book form is too much hype, and clearly he. Not so good.
Batman, we expected to be a comedy. We knew.
Nope.
But Green Lantern, we didn't know was going to be
That's a teaser.
comedy.
That's a teaser, folks.
Yeah, that's a teaser. So again, thank you for watching. Please support your local store. Buy something. Support, as Andre and John said. Share, like, do all the fun stuff. We appreciate everything, and we look forward to continuing the podcast and during this darkest of timelines, and continue to do it. Next week, we'll have another episode, 2 more ready for you guys, whether the Mandalorian, and we have a movie podcast coming up. So we'll be fun to talk about it. So thank you much. Thank you everyone, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
again, Stu.
Yep.